Hello, lovely people. I hope you are all doing great on this wonderful Saturday night. The NHL draft has come and gone. The lovely 2025 NHL draft has come and gone. The months of prep that we have done at Broad Street Hockey, watching these players throughout the whole season, the top of the class, and then diving super deep into all the nitty gritty players and prospects and teenagers that we've watched play in random CHL games and everything like that. It's all come to fruition, if I could say that word properly. And yeah, so the Flyers have made their selections and they have made all of their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks. There's too many trades that I could remember off the top of my head to remember what picks they had. But so 9 selections, and we're gonna go through all of them pick by pick. And I think we are just gonna have some fun looking at what we could project them as players, what we're excited to see them. Would there be better picks? Like, are we excited about the pick, or is it kind of a disappointed draft? All that stuff. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but let's just get to it. I don't see a reason why not to just start and get right into the top of the draft, and that is Porter Martone. It's a player that I absolutely love coming into this class. It's a player that I tend to gravitate to whenever I want to exemplify what I like watching in a hockey player. It's a physical, not afraid to use their body to protect the puck, but then is super smart, and his hockey sense is incredible to watch. And I've been able to see one game of his live, luckily in Ontario, and it was great. It was like immediately you just see him come alive whenever he's on the ice. Like, it's immediately noticeable of just like, oh yeah, that's 94. Every play is going through him. It's almost like us in a center role, but it's connecting these plays, stitching these plays together and interweaving and being able to play along the boards and in a very thoughtful and intelligent way to thank you. Thank you for the super chat, Brian. Blue Raha, thank you. It's just a yeah, that means a lot. It's in a incredibly thoughtful way that he approaches the game, and it's not a let me take the puck and then I'll distribute it as soon as I can. He takes the puck, absorbs it, and basically like, okay, what is the best route that I can do and to make my teammates better, and in the space that is given to me, how can I take advantage of that? So I think it's just an incredibly great pick for the Flyers to take. And again, you're sure you're missing out on a potential top line center in James Higgins. That might hurt them. And it might be a regret that they have down the line of like, oh well, like we could have had a center that was pretty good. It's if fans don't know the context of what we went through this during this draft, then they'll see, oh, that center went to Boston the pick later, kind of equal players, but I'd rather have the center. Then sure. Then it's just a issue of just how you approach the game and what the Flyers need. And I think the Flyers needed more than a potential Logan Cooley, Jack Hughes-esque center. They needed more like a Blake Wheeler dishing from the wing, big body, powerful player. And that was clearly something that they wanted. Sorry, I'm gonna get some water because I just started talking and then my throat clear it's fucked up. Okay, I'll be back in like 5 seconds. Okay, sorry about that. My throat was killing me. Well, thanks, Cole. Cole C. Yeah. Yeah, I hope to. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I think with Martone, it's just a player that is fits super well with I think what the Flyers are building, and it's a balance of skill and power that we all love watching the Flyers through for our lives. Um, I think he is could be seen as equal with Higgins, but just positionally it's different. But again, like I said, like it's a much more projectable player, and it's like he's at least a top six contributor in some way. Like you see that with him. Like other comparisons were Miko Rantanen, and then my comparison that I see a little bit more is like a Blake Wheeler, like good first line like winger, not maybe the driver of the team, but like a real like point per game winger at like you could just depend on and like not think about, and he's like an all-star from sometimes, and that's it. I think this pick, beyond other ones that they could have made, is just such like a exciting player that you don't come across too often, even in draft classes, and they're able to get them at 6. Like you look at other players like Caleb Donier that went first, fourth to Utah, fifth was Brady Martin, even then Anton Ferndale, who's great, like a real powerful and like physically mature player. Anton Ferndale is, and has a good shot, but Martone is just like his hockey sense is off the charts good, that I think he could overcome a lot of the like physical attributes that Frondell maybe has in his shot and etc. But Martone still has an amazing shot. And the one thing with Martone is he needs to increase his pace of play and his skating, and I think that will come. I think skating for sure will come. That's one thing that the Flyers are pretty good at. Brent Flair said in his post-draft press conference that he pointed to Tyson Forrester as someone that again progressed in the skating and was able to overcome that, and that was a big hurdle and why he kind of slipped in the rankings anyways, for when he was drafted. So I think with Martone, you're getting a player that could definitely work on stuff. It is interesting where he plays next year. There are so many rumors of him playing in college, whether that's Penn State or Michigan Wolverines. I think he's going to go to a premier program if he goes the college route, and it's going to be really, really exciting. The Penn State rumors are strong. Teammate Luke Misa, like from Brampton, committed there. Jackson Smith committed there. So there's a lot of talent going to college, obviously, and Martone will either be there, but he also had a quote earlier. Kind of surprised me that he's trying to make the team. Like, not surprised me in a way of like, obviously a hockey player is going to say, "Oh, I hope to make the NHL as soon as possible." It would be stupid if like a prospect, an 18-year-old, was like, "Oh yeah, I got 2 years left in the OHL to develop, and then maybe I'll spend a year or two in the AHL, and when I'm 22, I'll be really really ready by then. I really hope to work my way and develop that way." No, they're gonna say, "Oh, I hope to make the NHL next year. I hope to win the cup in 2 years, whatever, blah blah blah." So it was interesting to me, and obviously college, they would need that commitment before training camp starts. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So that's something to watch out for. But Martone, a wonderful pick, A plus selection at 6. I'm more than happy with that. Now the next one, we did go over a little bit of it in the stream that Jake and I did last night, recapping kind of first round and then looking towards day 2 and what potential players could fall to the Flyers there. But obviously, if you don't know, the Flyers had 22 and 31 in the first round, those picks, and they traded them up to Pittsburgh for the 12th pick and then selected center Jack Nesbitt, who some online scouting services, I guess you would say, or experts, prospect experts, had him in like deep in the second round. I could see that. Some people saw him as a first round talent for sure. Some people saw him mid first round. It all depends on if you think his skating can get better. Again, not a similar. I'm not gonna relate the two to like Martone and Nesbitt because I think they're at different levels of players. But Nesbitt needs skating. He's a heavy feet on the ice. He's does those little like choppy things and he doesn't like basically looks like one of those chihuahuas or whatever, like skirting around the ice, like really choppy short strides. Needs to rework his whole skating mechanics, I think. I'm gonna push back on it. Reminds me of the Sam Morin pick. There is upside to Nesbitt. I think the way that he's developed his offensive game is really strong. Later in the season, he's a decent passing. He has decent passing skill and vision in the offensive zone. I saw that in a couple games from him. There are some issues with general pace, but I think when the Flyers' thought process is, and I said this on the stream earlier, not this stream, but a previous, whatever. I think the thought process is like they saw they needed a center. They took Martone at 6. That's great. But now they're like, okay, we need to take a center with this next pick. They saw and know that Nesbitt would be gone by 22, their next pick. Other players like Braden Coots would be gone. Carter Bear, all these other players in this tier of centers that they probably like or the public likes in that range would be gone. The center that was actually taken at 22 by Pittsburgh was Bill Zanon. He's a much more like bottom 6 energy guy, and he was taken at 22nd overall. There was other players. I forget who was available, but like, is my computer fucked? Okay, I might have just left for a second. There are other centers that were available, but they're not in that same tier for the Flyers. So went up to 12, got their guy, made sure that they had a center in of that tier, and liked Nesbitt because of his size and projectability because of his size. Again, like Cole Rushing, yeah, but Cole Rushing at 12 also has his own flaws. 5'10". For a 5'10" player, his pace of play isn't great. His passing is great, but his general approach and like if you don't have skating and you don't play the game fast, then suddenly you're like a slow Morgan Frost, you know? Like, and that's Reshny. His peak of Reshny is like Claude Giroux, like, oh, I can see the ice so well that I don't need to like rush up the ice super well, and I'm big enough, but not like massive. That's Reshny to me. The thing with Nesbitt is that being 6'5", it's like it's just what the Flyers wanted in a centerman. Sorry, I'm gonna take some water. Like you see the thought process. You see what they needed a center. They went to get their guy. Sure, Braden Coots could have been great at 12. But also Braden Coots and other players like Reshny, Carter Bear, all that stuff. Like those players at center are also max second line centers. So if we're talking about players that could end up in the same spot in the NHL, like Braden Coots could be a third line center and a perfect third line center, like transition game, great, good skater, all that stuff. Not super like creative, but still a good enough playmaker. Great third line center, but also Nesbitt could be a good third line center also, and he's fucking massive. So you see like I'm going to take if I want my third line center, if they're both going to be third line centers, I would take the giant dude that could kill penalties and be a dominant force, and then maybe also be a decent playmaker and provide size to eventually be like ideally a second line center to a Travis Konechny, stable force in the middle, playmaker. Konechny causes chaos. All those things. You see the vision. You start to see the vision, and I could totally see players again. Victor Eklund, sure. Like if they trade up and got Victor Eklund at 12, it'd be fine. It'd be fine on talent alone, but also the projectability. You get that type of player more often in free agency and trades, or they're more available in trades and free agency every year. Like Nikolai Ehlers is basically what like Victor Eklund could be, and he's available. And Nito Ryder could be, he's available. Like he was available, whatever at times. The assets are more there, and then Jack Nesbitt, if he hits, then it's a decent like bet. Anyways, I'm not gonna like debate what the Flyers thought. I could see their thought process. I'm not like falling in love with the player, but I could see their thought process of needing a good, like easy center, and then you just get that and hope that he grows. Like I'm sure I would not be surprised. Let's say this: Windsor is a very good team next year. They'll still have Ilya Protas, the Washington pick. Liam Greentree will graduate, but Windsor will still be a good team. I would not be surprised if we're sitting here at this time next year and Jack Nesbitt just had a 90-point season. I would not be surprised, and people will be feeling a whole lot better about this pick. I'm just gonna say that. Even talking about Winnipeg, Kieran Walton, he was a much later pick, but big, had a breakout season this past year, and now he's like good, like middle six guy they're projecting, but also he was like a 5th round pick. So, anyways, that's a bad example. So Jack Nesbitt, like I didn't even talk about the player. I talked about the vision, and we're 20 minutes into the stream, and I haven't talked about the second player, like what he does well. I guess I talked about like he's big, playmaking, bad skater. That's the thought process. Could be a penalty killer, like good two-way guy. I guess that's enough. It's debatable about what player, but a very controversial player. Like the spectrum of what people think about him is very wide. Let's just put it at that. So then that was day one. Let me take a break here. Thanks everyone for coming out on 11, almost 11:30 on Saturday. If you don't know us or watch us a lot, Broad Street Hockey cover the Philadelphia Flyers, independent coverage of the Philadelphia Flyers. I just realized I said the logo twice up there. Let's get rid of that thing. It's just us doing this, and on the site broadstreethockey.com, we put out articles every day, multiple articles every day, so many articles. I think I counted for the draft we've done so far like 85, 88 or something like that, 89 articles of draft season and draft board stuff and going through each prospect by prospect. So it really help out if you like and subscribe. There's no ownership. There's no big sponsor we have. There's no venture capitalist that is funding all of us. Anything that you contribute to us goes right to the people that make the content, that do the videos, that do the podcast, everything like that. So really help out anything that you do and click on our little page or whatever. Anyways, let's my voice is going crazy. Okay. Draft day 2. So heading into day 2, the Flyers took Martone and Nesbitt. It was a very like wishy-washy, I get it, but it sucks at the same time. I wanted them to take 3 players and bet on high-end players like Colin Potter later, blah, 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 all that stuff. Not feeling 100%, some people. Day 2, they had an opportunity, a big opportunity, to do some stuff that some creative, like working the phones, working players, and there's a good amount of players available. And you'd see in our stream that we had last night and going over the players that we liked, there was a lot. There were a lot. So they go up, and at 38, because they traded back to then, anyways, they traded back anyways. They get Cutter Amico. from the US NTDP. And I love this pick. Let's just say that out. Like it's a risky pick, but in the same risk of like a Roger McQueen-esque risk at the top of the draft. Like so Amico, he injured his knee and then re-injured the same injury later in the season. So he had a very stunted season, but he's physically so mature and like such an attractive player to have in your system that it's worth getting the clear medically. And Brent Flair said all medically clear and everything, that it's worth this high end pick and bet on just his physical tools alone. 6'6", some places 6'5", some other places. What's he listed at weight wise? I think like 198, 225. Never mind. So he's a monster of a human, basically. And for that size, he is a great skater. Can move with mobility, four-way mobility, not super agile, but he can get up the ice really well and control his skating and pivot well enough to be a shutdown guy. Like you see his hips working and everything like that. And it's a good sign for someone that big that he's not just like a very stationary player. So he's a skater. He's a great skater. Physical tools out the window. Not out the window. Off the charts, I guess. Is it what we would say? And then everything else basically reads as like a super shutdown guy that could then break out of the zone with very smart passing and just like turn the play on a dime and get the puck to his forwards and just like be a very smart contributor to the play. That's my read on Cutter Amico from the couple, like, I think I watched a game of his last night after we kind of logged off and everything because he was so injured. I didn't get to see a lot. And that's what I saw. He's committed to Boston University. EP, like Elite Prospects, had him as starting 26, 27. And then in the interview with PHLY, he said he's starting, I believe he started saying next year. I know he said, I'm committed to Boston University. I don't know if he meant like I'm playing there next year or yeah, I'm doing whatever. So I think I'm going to go with that he's playing at BU next year. That's a great sign that he's playing college next year. It's just a smart, easy development path to see. Play 2 years in college and then see maybe you could sign him from there. But yeah, I think physically he's gonna be one of the most dominant defenders in college hockey immediately. Just a shutdown guy that is in a modern sense of like I want to think of him as like a not an Adam Larson, but like a player that sorry, I was just reading your message, Fly Guys. A player that could contribute super well to his team, but not be a detriment offensively. Not like be a pure absorber, like a Chris Tanev or something, where like you're absorbing the play and then like sometimes turning it off. I could see him as a more like flipping the switch easily and then sending the play up the ice. Like a much more offensively minded shutdown guy that way. I like the pick. It's a good bet on upside in this range. It's like a perfect. He probably would have been a first round talent if he stayed healthy all season. So you just take that. The next pick after that. So they had the. I lost my page. They had the 38th pick. Well, they had 36. They traded down to 38 and moved up earlier into 57 from 68. Switched all some picks around. And then they had the 40th pick, and then they selected Jack Murtagh. And I'm going to be repeating a broken record here and just say I love this pick as well. I think he might be my favorite out of the second round picks, just because you see the vision that he could have on the ice and the effect that he has on the ice. So he's a very of these players, I think he's the best skater. Straight ahead speed, incredible. An like a relentless forechecker, I find, and has the shooting skill to be a difference maker, I think, as he gets into college. And again, another BU commit. Going to be playing on a very good team. I think who went there? Sasha Bover went there, transferred to there. Who else is going to be on that BU team? I forget. Anyways, Jack Murtagh is going to play a big role there. The one thing with Murtagh, other than being like I find like and I said this on the PHLY stream earlier today, of like a bang, crash, shoot kind of guy. Like I'm gonna like be a very like speed up the ice, hit the guy to lose possession, and then I'm gonna shoot the puck. Like hopefully in a dangerous area. I find he plays a very like individual game. So like I'm gonna do this play and then see, and then takes a little bit longer than hopefully expected or would be appropriate to then lay it off to his teammates and think about his teammates. Like he's very like tunnel vision a little bit, and then it kind of opens up later and a little bit too late. And that could be fixed. That's one part of hockey sense where I think it can be fixed. If general hockey sense of like handling the pucks and like misreading plays and misreading like movement, that's a bigger issue. When it comes to like, oh, don't like be so narrow-minded about potential plays. Like think about a play as you're coming up to the puck. Think about where people are and then lay it off. Like instead of being like, okay, I got the puck, and then now what I do, and then I pass, which is like Murtagh's game a little bit right now. I think it's definitely fixable, and college hockey will fix that immediately, because he's just like, it's just such a higher paced game and more relentless and older players and all that stuff. So I really like the Murtagh pick. It's a bet on like physicality, but then skill at the same time. Like I could see him being a 20 goal scorer in the NHL consistently, kind of just like on a third, but sometimes second line, second power play, like all that kind of stuff. And in the second round, if you get that, that's a really, really good player to get. The next pick that they made, again, so I was at 40th, and they go to 48 and they get Shane Vansaghi. Vansaghi was one of my favorites after the first round. I thought he might have been, if they kept 22 and 31, I thought he might have been one of those picks, honestly. So to get him at 48, incredible steal, incredible value. I think Vansaghi is a player that a lot of teams would love. If you thought Murtagh was like a relentless forechecker, Vansaghi is like that times 1,000, I find. And for Michigan State already, because he's on the older end of the draft class, he was able to play in his freshman year already on like a third line role, and that's why his point totals aren't super high. I forget what he had. It was like 16 points or something in 16 points, six goals, 10 assists in 37 games. But again, that Michigan State team had Isaac Howard, Charlie Stramel, the Minnesota Wild prospect, Carson Dorwart, our current Flyer, I guess. Actually, Sturbach, a good amount of players, and then Vansaghi should have much more of a role next year. But when you're talking about Vansaghi, it's just a player that is going to just keep on attacking, and be that kind of nuisance, but in a super smart way. Like you think about players like an Eetu Listerainen, not a Lundell on another Florida example, because he plays more of like a back center role, but like a winger that is just annoying to play against. Like I'm not going to say Zach Hyman, but also kind of Zach Hyman a little bit, like where it's a lot of details and board work, and then he could be like a net front guy and potentially create his offense around that dirty, grimy area of the ice, or soft area of the ice, if we want to use a trendier term, right in front of the net. So like I think a lot of his game is going to be with details, and like hockey nerds and coaching nerds and tactic nerds are going to go crazy for him with all like the like, oh, did you see that, like that board work? Oh, he perfectly placed like and used his body to protect the puck really well, and that to keep possession and wait for his teammates to come in and all this nerd stuff. And I think Vansaghi is a perfect player for that. Not a great skater, but I think that again, that is a very teachable skill. And if he's able to be just an average skater, I think we are looking at a middle six winger that is just like powerful, annoying, suffocating, and just like overwhelming the other defenders to a point where it's just hard to deal with. And it's just a player that is like, teams are going to circle and be like, great, we have to play that guy and like try to find out. And then, oh wait, there's Michkov and Konechny on other lines too. This is just perfect, sarcastically. So I think Vansaghi is just a really, really smart bet at 48th overall. And again, it's a similar kind of like, you're getting decent projection in the same area of the ice, like two wingers in Murtagh and Vansaghi that could play the same role. But I think Murtagh is more on the, I'm gonna like forecheck you to hell, and then Murtagh is more like a counterattacking, straight ahead skater. I hope to like beat you to the puck and then like chip it past your goalie kind of thing. So yeah, and again, three college players with Amico, and that second round is really coming like it's they. Okay, let me stop. Let me get the fourth second rounder, and then because he kind of draws in here too, and that's Matthew Gard. So a centerman out of the Red Deer Rebels. He, which is funny, he led his team in scoring with 36 points, 66 games, 19 goals, so a good goal scorer. But what's interesting enough with him is like he's a very toolsy player. He is a smart presence on the ice. A little bit of offense, like a little bit, but not a whole lot we've seen from him. But I really wonder if he gets moved at the deadline or something, at the WHL deadline next year, anyways. If he could maybe move on and play on a better team and play like a second line center role on a good team like a Kamloops or a Medicine Hat, try to replace say Lindstrom there, that kind of role. But I like him. He wasn't my favorite player coming into the draft. He wasn't like a player that I really had circled to be like, oh, this would be great. Like Vansaghi was one of those players. Amico was like, this is I'm gonna put it on like a watch list and be like, I would love this bet, but I'm not like dying without him. Vansaghi was like top of the list for me. But Matthew Gard is like, the more I watch him, the more I understand what teams would see him do. And it's just like, he doesn't really have any holes to his game that a team could take advantage of. He plays with enough pace to not be standing still and have the puck ripped from his hands. He can shoot the puck decently well. Obviously, 9 more goals than assists this year for the Rebels. He skates well for a player that is coming up to 6'5". He's probably going to be 6'5" by the time he makes the NHL. And he's also on the younger side with an April birthday. I think there's just a bet to make him a player that is a defense first, high work ethic, unrelenting, tenacious kind of player. And again, you're getting this kind of package that we see a lot of the similar, like my thought process is like a defense first guy that has like decent vision and is good on the forecheck is like a lower Jet Luchenko, but then suddenly you put him in a 6'5" frame and like a worse skater, obviously. Like Luchenko is one of the best skaters, was one of the best skaters in his draft last year, and probably would be considered one of the best skaters in this class as well. But it's just like you put that brain and effort and work ethic into a big frame, then suddenly you're talking about a player that I think could really fall into a good position and good trajectory into the NHL. Because I think my issue with a lot of the big players, and this was my issue with honestly Roger McQueen, is they play like they have been bigger. Sorry, my hat's I don't know what my hat's doing. They play like they have been bigger than everyone their entire hockey career, and that's because they probably have. Roger McQueen has been 2 to 3 inches taller than everyone on the ice since he's been 10 years old, 8 years old, even probably. Like I've heard WHL scouts talk about him being like playing minor hockey at 13 years old and just being a monster and being able to dominate his way out there. And that affects your game later on. And you don't develop those hardworking habits as easily as a player that is under 6 foot, or when coming up and he's just like 6.5, 6'1". And then you talk about like, oh, I've always had to work hard. So this is just like, this is an ability that I just have ingrained in me. And then when I get bigger, it's just like, it just goes from there. That is the issue I play with players that have been big most of their like hockey playing life. Matthew Gard is the opposite. I think he plays like he has been small against players, and he just uses his body like just like I'm not going to say like he just found out that he's bigger, but in a way that is interesting and smart and thoughtful with his approach of like how to control the ice, I guess. Like I like the pick. I really like the pick of not as high as a ceiling as a Murtagh or a Vansaghi, but I like the player as a center. Is that like a true like, again, probably talking about a third line center at best, but you're talking about like an Adam Lowry-esque third line center that's like analytics would love and kills penalties and like possibly just like the leader for down there in the lineup or whatever. So I really like the Matthew Gard pick. It's a smart, like, sure, there was more exciting players, more offensively minded players, but I think it's just like we're going for this. We have a vision, and we're putting that into action. So the whole thing with the second round. So we have Carter Amico on a right-handed defenseman that's massive, 6'6". We have Jack Murtagh, 6'1", but also like fast and powerful and physical, and uses that like is a powerful player in the way that like I think he's like 190. I think he's the player that's 198. Like he's built like he's like a man. um that so it's more about mass and acceleration of how he distributes his power rather than size. So um so I like him. And then we have a Jay Vansaghi, powerful, just unrelenting, tenacious player. And then we have a Matthew Gard who is able to a little bit more, obviously just in a center role. He's not like a forecheck or whatever. There's just like a way to have size and skill at the same time. I think that's the theme of the second round for the Flyers this year. So like, yes, they drafted players that are massive and physical, but also there's this like upside and detail work to their game, and the way that they approach their impact on the ice that is much more smart than like, I'm just drafting a big dude, Sam Morin-esque pick. That's my thought. So we move on from the second round. The Flyers did not have a pick until the 5th, and then they go off the board, or off the path, I guess I could say, of 6'5", massive man, and then they get 5'10" winger Max Westergard out of the SHL. He played more J20 National games, but he played some SHL games later in the season. I have a lot to say about this player, so I'm gonna drink even more water, and then we'll talk. Because I love this pick. First, it's a bet on skill. It's the one player where it's like, okay, you're not massive, but we're betting on you. But there are reasons where he's similar to the rest of the draft in a way. He is extremely, extremely young. He's even younger than Jet Luchenko was in comparison to his draft year last year. We're talking about Jet Luchenko, like, oh, youngest player in the draft. He's like he's like barely 17 or whatever. He like just turned 18 2 days ago, and he makes the NHL. Whatever we're saying. Max Westergard is a September 3rd birthday, so if he was born 12 days later, he'd be drafted next year. Extremely, extremely young, and he's already playing in SHL top Swedish division hockey. And I think that is just like that combination, no matter what numbers he put up. I think if a European coach so with I'm going on spiel. With junior hockey, the goal is to develop. That's sometimes questionable in the CHL, but mainly the goal is to develop hockey players. That's what you're doing. In pro leagues, in top division, your goal is to win. You're winning games. If a 17-year-old hockey player is playing in SHL games where the goal is to win, that alone, no matter what points they put up, Westergard put up 0 points in his 4 SHL games. If he's being entrusted to play games at the highest level, in a position to try to win, and that's he's the best player to be in that position for a team that wants to win the hockey game, then that is such like an it's just like, to me, that is a great thing, and it's above scoring 1 million points in the AJHL. It's above lighting up the USHL, the MHL. It's getting entrusted to play in high stakes games at such a young age that it's just like an incredible learning experience, an incredible advantage that players have. Like, if you're thinking about Denver Barkey and Oliver Bong, the most like high stakes game that they played is World Juniors. Not even Denver hasn't even played World Juniors. You're talking about like Oliver Monk high stakes is like World Juniors, and its maximum is a 20-year-old you're facing. Max Westergard at 17 years old, before he was even drafted, was facing 30-year-olds against him on the ice, and he's 5'10". Like, you're talking about just having an advantage with that. Like, it's just, yeah, Griff. Actually, yeah, those are regular season games, and they put up 3 points in the SHL playoffs. So like, it's a perfect, great bet. So, and then in the National, he put up over a point per game with 19 goals and 50 points in 41 games. And again, that is just like a great production for that level of play. He's not like the speediest or shootiest or passiest player, but just like he has attributes that could translate well. And Alex Appleyard was saying he's not a skill player in a way of like he's going to be in the top 6 or nothing. His skills and tools can translate into a scoring third line role, a scoring bottom 6 role, a maybe like a Jacob Pelletier, his role. And if you're getting that at a player in the 5th round, that's more than reasonable to like potentially get. Even if like an AHL like Ole Lexell, you're thinking about that kind of player. And Lexell's game did not translate to a bottom 6 role. So now we're talking about a player that at 5'10" could play an energy scoring role if everything happens well with his development. And I think that is just like a wonderful, wonderful bet to make. We're nearing an hour, and I don't want to take too much of your time. So we're kind of going to power through a little bit these last 2 picks. The next pick is Luke Vlooswyk, a player, the one player that the Flyers drafted that I've never heard of. There's always one. This dude, I must have missed him when I was watching Matthew Gard, but also on that Red Deer Rebels team. He basically just put up 17 points to 68 games, and he is a big man. That's it. He's big. He doesn't skate exceptionally well. He doesn't pass the puck or break out very well. He's doesn't have a booming shot or anything like that. He's a big, hopefully like a play suffocator, shutdown guy. I view this as maybe we can get something later, like maybe with like their thought process is like with the new CHL NCAA rules, maybe he goes to college after like at 20 years old, he goes to college, and then you're talking about like because under the new CBA, you'll have draft rights until you're 22, no matter what. So it's 4 years, no matter what. I don't know if that counts for this year or it's next year. I don't know, but you could see them thinking, but like, okay, let's just like try this dude out. Maybe he goes to like North Dakota, plays decently there for a year or two, and then he earns a contract, and then he like replaces Hunter McDonald in the system or whatever. I can see that happening. So not the most exciting player. There were lots of other players that I liked at that range. Let's see. Let's just like do a little fun exercise and see who I would take instead. 5th round. Owen Griffin was taken 3 picks later. He is a very small center for the Gens. He's fine. Actually, my pick probably would have been Daniel Niemanen, defenseman. Again, he's an overager, but he's played a full season in Liga at 18 years old. I guess he just turned 19, but overager, really, really good skater. So you're getting a good skater, pro level experience, like playing pro hockey already, like a full year, top division in Finland, and then that's it. So like you're getting that, and I'd rather bet on that than a giant dude from the WHL. Just a personal thing. And even like I would bet on like kind of similar thing of like Dakota Ram Mullen. He didn't get drafted at all. And he played Michigan. He played for like University of Michigan the entire year, and he's a very good skating defenseman, but he's like might be listed at 5'11" defenseman, 6 foot, like might be just 6 foot. Anyways, there are other players that I probably would have taken, and I don't see the vision for this player. That's the one pick that is like, maybe you get a farmhand out of this. The last pick, I'm gonna take the last sip of water here. The last pick, they actually took a centerman that is 5'11", under 6 foot. It's crazy, I know. Nathan Quinn. So Nathan Quinn, I've liked what I've seen for a bad Ramparts team in the queue. I liked what I've seen. It's much more of a details game. Not a lot of holes with him, but a smart player that he doesn't have like the physical tools. So like his skating and size isn't there, but his approach to the game is of a player that has a higher tool set than that, if that makes sense. If he's able to build a little bit more mass, I think he's listed at like 170 pounds, let's see here. What is it listed at? 173, Hockey DB says. I don't know what EP has him at, but yeah. So if he gains more mass, if he's like 5'11", 190, 185, 188, if he does that, maybe he goes to college or something like that. But if he just builds a little bit more mass and is able to use his body more to control play and all that vision that he has, all the awareness and ability to read the ice and read plays coming through would benefit him more because he's able to just keep possession of the puck a little bit longer. Let me look at what EP had to say here. This is from a scouting report. He works delays into drop passes, slips puck through pressure before muscling through, and consistently works off puck to facilitate his teammates' entries. His lone goal in this game came off of some tidy net front work on the power play, a staple of his game at this point. Time to spin off a check down low with a point shot and slipped the rebound home. That was from a January game. So yeah, I think basically he plays a bigger game than he is. So we'll see if that happens. And again, for a sixth round pick? For a fifth round pick. No, sixth round pick. Yeah, later. Early sixth round pick. That's fine. You're not like getting a star. It's like, I like your approach. I like your ability to your brain. If you just like actually were just bigger and able to maybe have that like size and advantage over some players, then it would take him to the next level. And honestly, he probably would have been selected way earlier because of that if he was like 6'2" instead. But I like this bet on a centerman that could just be like not an offense first guy, but a two-way player in the queue, and maybe he goes down to Hockey East and plays, or somewhere likes him if he lights up the queue, if he gets traded somewhere onto a better queue team. But I like the approach. Overall vision of the Flyers draft, I like. My main takeaways are they obviously address size. That's the one thing that like obvious that they thought of, like, let's just address this need in the pipeline, and they checked that box with a stone like chisel. That's not going anywhere. You size, check. You're good on that front for a very long time. But with that size, and they didn't just get size for size's sake, with that size, they got players that have incredible tool sets that can take them to the next level and are super projectable. And then you start to think about a pipeline that has players that have a presence to them, but then also actually do stuff with that presence. Aren't just like, oh, I'm gonna knock you down, and then it's like, that's what I could do. Sorry, I don't have anything else to do with the puck, so you'll have to do everything around me. It's players that have so many more things to bring other than just their height, and I love that. Led by Porter Martone, which is like, honestly, I think because like we have to use more brain power about the rest of the players, because we're like thinking about, oh, who was this available? What was the process of like the Flyers saw this in the second round, so they moved up, whatever. I think because we've been like contributing so much brain power to that, we forgot that Porter Martone is a Philadelphia Flyer at this point. And that's just like an insane thing to think about. I've been watching him for like a while, and it's just like incredible. I'm just in love with him. He brings everything that you kind of want in a player. Like I said off the top, that's my ideal hockey player. If he just has his skating a little bit better, then it's like you're talking about an all-star player. And if you get that at 6 overall, you're good. Like we're talking about Jamie Drysdale and like also a 6 overall pick, and we're hoping that he can score 30, 40 points next year from the blue line. Like we're talking about an all-star with Martone, and I think that's just like an incredible thing to have. But overall, I think it's a mix of size and skill and tools and projectability that the Flyers have committed themselves to. It's not we're gonna just go full tilt, 5'10" dudes that can skate well and shoot the puck. And it's not full tilt the other way either. It's this mix that like, and it's where the NHL lives right now. It's this mix of physicality and skill and what players bring, and it's an all-around player and all-around packages that we've seen the Flyers draft this weekend. So I think this draft class is great. This draft class is a very good step forward into a pivot into addressing needs. They have the players that like Michkov, Zegras, players Martone as cornerstone potential players. Excuse me. And then now they're building around that. It's not drafting for need necessarily. It's drafting players that fit that mold into potentially what they need, if that makes sense. So overall, I really like this draft class. We're going to be doing more on this class. We're going to be doing watch-alongs, shift by shifts of them throughout the summer, probably past draft prospects too. Like we'll be watching maybe some Jet Luchenko games just to like hang out and do that again. Just have some fun. That's what the summer's for, is like watching prospects and diving in, and maybe taking a month off of hockey, but that's it. In the coming weeks, I'll probably be doing some late night watch alongs of shift by shift like I've been doing leading up to the draft. And now that we know who the actual players that are Flyers prospects now, I'll be doing a lot more, and hopefully they'll be more interesting than like, oh, maybe they could take Jake O'Brien and then try to dissect his game. But now he's a Seattle Krakens. Who gives a shit? So yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. Stick around, like and subscribe. If you haven't liked the video yet, it really helps us out. And I think we're not to like pat ourselves on the back or whatever, but I think that we covered the draft pretty damn well. A lot of research has gone into this season. And hopefully it's a massive draft for our Philadelphia Flyers. Like and subscribe, do all those cool things, hit all those buttons, comment on what your favorite pick of the Flyers draft class was. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and start. And free agency is going to be, I feel like it's going to be a little bit crazy around the league. And the Flyers are going to maybe sign a goalie. That's it. Yeah. No sense being negative. Ignore the negative people. Rather be positive and then see it play out. And if you have to say, oh, I thought Jack Nesbitt was going to be a second line center, and then he ended up not being one, then you can be like, oh, well, that's the benefit of being positive, other than being negative and being like, I'm trying to be correct all the time. Whatever. Just be happy. Okay. See you guys. BSH forever. Love you. Bye.